Over the past year, you've probably noticed something in the news. Every time a company announces layoffs, there's a familiar explanation. AI is changing our workforce. Automation is making roles redundant. We're restructuring because of artificial intelligence. It sounds inevitable, almost futuristic, like the robots have arrived and humans are simply being replaced. But if you look a little closer, something about this story doesn't quite add up, because in many cases, the layoffs blamed on AI have very little to do with AI itself, and a lot more to do with something much more ordinary: money, corporate strategy, and mistakes companies made just a few years ago. Let's start with something important. Artificial intelligence is absolutely transforming certain kinds of work. There's no denying that. AI can now write basic reports, summarize documents, generate code, analyze large data sets, even answer customer questions through chat systems. Companies see this technology and think efficiency. If one employee using AI can do the work that used to require 3 people, that changes how companies think about hiring. But here's the thing. Most companies are nowhere near replacing entire teams with AI. Not yet. In many cases, the technology simply isn't mature enough. It still needs human oversight. It makes mistakes. And in some industries, the legal and compliance risks alone make full automation impossible. So if AI isn't actually replacing huge numbers of workers right now, why do we keep hearing that explanation every time layoffs happen? Part of the answer goes back to something that happened during the pandemic. Between 2020 and 2022, many companies went on a hiring spree. Interest rates were low, money was cheap. Tech companies especially believed demand would keep growing at an incredible pace, so they hired aggressively. Entire teams were built around growth projections that assumed the world would keep moving at pandemic speed. But eventually, reality caught up. The economy slowed. Interest rates went up. And many companies suddenly realized they had more employees than they actually needed, so layoffs began. But here's the uncomfortable truth: admitting that a company simply overhired doesn't sound very strategic. It sounds like a mistake. And public companies don't love telling investors that they made big mistakes. So instead, the narrative shifts. It becomes a story about transformation, about innovation, about preparing for the future. Suddenly the layoffs aren't just layoffs. They're AI-driven restructuring, and that sounds a lot better in a press release. There's another reason this narrative spreads so easily: fear sells. The idea that artificial intelligence is replacing millions of workers makes for dramatic headlines. It's a powerful story. It feels like we're living through a technological revolution. And to be clear, we are entering a period of major technological change. But that doesn't mean every layoff announcement is the result of AI replacing humans. Sometimes it's much simpler. Companies are cutting costs. Sometimes executives want to increase profit margins. Sometimes new leadership wants to restructure teams. Sometimes shareholders demand higher efficiency. And sometimes companies just made bad hiring decisions during the boom years. When you frame layoffs as AI transformation, it shifts the focus away from those realities. It turns a management decision into something that feels inevitable, like it's the future arriving instead of a boardroom choice. And there's another layer to this. Even when AI isn't directly replacing jobs today, it still influences how companies think about the future. Executives look at emerging technologies and start planning ahead. They imagine a world where certain roles might require fewer people, so they begin reducing headcount early, not because AI has already replaced workers, but because they expect it might someday. In other words, the layoffs aren't caused by AI itself. They're caused by anticipation, by predictions, by executives trying to position their companies for a future that hasn't fully arrived yet. That distinction mattered because it changes how we think about the job market. If AI were already replacing huge numbers of workers today, the situation would look very different. Entire professions would be disappearing overnight. But what we're actually seeing is something more gradual. Jobs are evolving. Certain tasks are being automated. Some roles are shrinking. New roles are emerging. This kind of transition has happened before. When computers first entered offices decades ago, many people feared massive job losses. And yes, some roles did disappear, but entirely new industries were created as well. The same pattern often repeats with technological change. Technology eliminates some types of work, but it also creates demand for new skills, new services, and new industries. What makes today's moment confusing is the way companies communicate about it. The language around layoffs has become strategic. Instead of saying, "We overhired," companies say, "We are restructuring for the AI era." Instead of saying, "We need to reduce costs," they say, "We are optimizing our workforce through automation." The message sounds futuristic, but the reality often looks very familiar. Businesses adjusting to economic pressure, businesses trying to operate more efficiently, businesses responding to market expectations. None of that is new. And that's not to say workers shouldn't take AI seriously, learning new tools, adapting to new technologies, staying flexible in a changing job market. Those things matter more than ever. But it's also important not to fall into the trap of believing that every job loss is the result of robots taking over. Sometimes the explanation is much simpler. Companies are businesses. Their primary goal is profitability. And when economic conditions change, they adjust. Sometimes that adjustment means layoffs, even if artificial intelligence never enters the conversation. So the next time you see a headline saying a company is cutting jobs because of AI, it might be worth asking a simple question: is AI really replacing those workers right now? Or is it simply the most convenient explanation? Because in many cases, the story behind layoffs isn't about technology at all. It's about decisions made in boardrooms, decisions about costs, about growth, about expectations. AI may shape the future of work, but the present is still being shaped by humans. And sometimes those humans just don't want to admit they made a mistake.